My first passion before food was football. But I was always a good eater, great lover of food, and I grew up partly in Scotland, partly down south. So we had that sort of token of appreciation of home-cooked food. Then I was very lucky to get on a foundation course, spending the last year of my school at a foundation course, studying maths, English 2.5 days a week, and then learning to cook for 2.5 days a week, and it was a sort of new experiment. Now we had trouble with buying my first set of whites and chef knives, and we depended on the Banbury round table to come up with something like £85–90 that Mum and Dad didn't have to get my first set of whites. So I still remember that day now, and how ecstatic and happy I was when I got given my first set of whites, my knives, and all of a sudden I wanted to go on that mission. Football was a sort of huge burning ambition, and I was trying to decide. Advice to young chefs from the age of 16 to sort of 29, 30 is 14 years of a sponge. You're absorbing knowledge. Don't take a job for the sake of money. Don't worry about earning £500 a month or a year more somewhere else. Go and get knowledge, because that becomes a bigger passport for everything. The money will come once you've mastered your craft and you become incredibly talented. Work for big chefs and find a different level of comfort. When things get too comfortable and you're still living with your parents and you've still got your first job and you don't want to move out because everything's too comfortable, get out. Put yourself in a strange situation in the middle of Barcelona, put yourself in the middle of Paris, put yourself in the middle of Belgium and see what's available. It's amazing how much confidence it gives you, and more importantly, it's great to sort of eat and travel at the same time. Fantastic. When you get all this knowledge and the advice for young chefs that are excited about opening their own business, don't shoot too high. Restaurants become successful because they cook within the vicinity they're sat within. Don't start reaching for stars and stripes. Focus on your customers, they're your biggest critics. Secondly, keep it local. Become the best bistro. Then after the bistro, take it up a little level. But make sure your customers and your brigade go up with you. Don't stand and shoot too high. You'll come back to bite you on the arse.
Key to a successful business is remembering the customer's king. Because without them, we're nobody. And so I, from a chef's point of view, always put myself in a customer's situation where I see it from their eyes. I don't cook for chefs. Every time chefs come into the dining room, the first thing they do is turn up the plates upside down, start photographing the food, and they're constantly, dissecting the food as opposed to enjoying it. So I always look at it from a customer's perspective, because they're king, and without them, we're history.
The hardest part about change is not making the same choice as you did the day before. And the moment you decide to no longer think the same way, make the same choice, act the same way, create the same experience, or live by the same emotion, it's going to feel uncomfortable. It's going to feel unfamiliar. There is going to be a certain amount of uncertainty and unpredictability. And the moment you feel uncomfortable, you just stepped into the river of change. Now, most people, the moment they feel uncomfortable, they return back to the familiar state of the mind and body. They start thinking the same way, acting the same way, feeling the same way, and they say, this feels right. No, in fact, that feels familiar. Now, going from the old self to the new self is the neurological, is the chemical, is the biological, is the hormonal, and even genetic death of the old self. That void, that place of uncertainty, that unknown, is the perfect place to create it. And if you and I can become comfortable in that unknown and begin to decide who we do want to be. In other words, many people say when they're in that unknown, I can't predict my future. This doesn't feel right. Well, the best way to predict your future is to create it, not in the known, but in the unknown.